Hey, what's up everyone? I've been wanting to make this video because I feel like you guys can relate, or if you're just, I was in your position just a little while ago, and that is moving to full frame. Well, how do you do it? I know it's very, very intimidating. It's very expensive, but I did it. That means you can do it because I'm just the average person and I did things a certain way. So I'm going to tell you how I went full frame, why, and how you can do it as well. And hopefully you can relate to this. Now, I can't speak for everyone and say that we all did this the right way, where we all had an entry-level DSLR or something like that. Someone may have gotten full frame right out of the boat and they're fine with it now. And sometimes that's just the way it works. But I wanted to give you kind of a background on my gear and how I started, and I'll tell you why I upgraded and how I got to where I am today with full frame bodies and shooting and everything like that. So once again, hopefully this helps you out and kind of gives you a guide on maybe how to sell your gear, how to market yourself, so that way you can upgrade your gear if you really need to. And that's one huge thing before I start anything. The reason you go full frame, the reason you upgrade bodies is because that it fills a void. There is a need for it. There was a need where I needed better low light for weddings, and that's why I went full frame. So here's my story, not really a story, but here's how I kind of went from entry-level DSLR to full frame shabam now. So back in 2011, I think 2011, I got my first DSLR, and that was the Nikon D3000. At the time, it was great. It didn't have video or anything like that. I know, shocking, right? But it was just a starting point. I took one of my first photography courses in college, actually. I wasn't into photography before that. I went to school for TV and film. Yeah, so I started off with the D3000 and a kit lens, and that's what I started shooting with. Now, kind of after that, I realized I wanted more video, so probably after a month of buying a D3000, I think I got it like Best Buy, I jumped up to the D3100 because that just came out, and I was kind of bummed because I already spent maybe like $600 or $700 on the D3000 at the time, but I eventually just sold that in the kit, and I got the D3100. Great, it had video, but there was one problem. I bought the D3000, I used it, but I didn't really use it. I didn't really need the 3100. That was a parallel leap. So the only thing I really got was video. Great, fantastic, fine, but I didn't need it 100%. I wasn't shooting video with DSLRs really back then because I was using my school's equipment. So that's one thing I always kind of regretting, was going from the D3000 without learning how to shoot manual and RAWs and JPEGs or anything like that, and just jumping straight into a new body, new lenses and everything like that. So that's something I always regretted, was not doing with what I had. I thought, hey, the better gear, once again, that's the mentality that a lot of people have, and that's how you learn that, oh, it's the better gear, it has more megapixels, it's better, meaning that you're going to become a better photographer, when that's not the case. So that's what I kind of fell into. So I'm from the D3000 with the 18-55 kit lens to the D3100, and I got to 18-135 kit lens with it because I felt that gave more range, even though it was a variable aperture lens. So then I did a little bit of work for the Philadelphia Phillies on the side while I was still in school, and I decided, so I guess this was after 2011, beginning 2012, I want to do more than just, you know, landscapes, and I kind of want to get more into sports. So then I got my first telephoto lens, and that was a silver 70-300, and it wasn't even an autofocus really, so it didn't work well with the D3100. But I was like, hey, why not? So I started to shoot a little sports with it. I realized I wasn't getting things that I needed. And then all of a sudden there was an opportunity where my professor came up to me and said, hey, do you want to come be an assistant at some of my weddings? I see that you're into photography. So I was like, all right, I have some lenses, but they're not really good in low light. So I'm lucky he let me use some of his lenses with my D3100. And I was, well, at the time I thought I was getting, wow, that's great. I mean, just the glass alone, he was giving me his 24-70, or his 28-70, his Nikon 28-70, the forgotten lens 2.8, and I'm sitting there thinking, wow, this is really make a difference. And that was because it was good glass. So shortly after that, I was doing a couple weddings with him, and this was now later in 2012, and I decided I really need to get a better body so I can handle low light. So and I was starting to get a little more video freelance work as well with my DSLR. So I said, what should I do? Well, you know what? I'm not going to get the body right away. I'm going to go with a lens. So one of my first lenses I got was a Sigma 28-70 2.8. So I got that, and then I eventually bumped up to the Sigma 70-200 2.8. Well, yeah, that sounds like a lot of money. How'd you get that? I sold my stuff. I sold my other lenses on eBay and on Craigslist, and I just bundled it together, and you can usually create a bigger price that way just because of the value. Now, they were Nikon products. They hold value. The problem when you buy like maybe a Sigma or a Tamron or a Tokina is they don't hold their value 100%. So if I bought a kit lens from Nikon for $100, guess what I could sell that for? Basically $90 to $100. I can almost make my money back. But say if I bought that Sigma 70-200 2.8 for about $800 back in the day. This was the version 1, no OS or anything like that. I think I sold it for maybe $600. So I did take a hit on that. But overall, I was getting 2.8, I was getting faster glass, I had the 51.8, but then I was like, I need a better body. So jumped up to the D7000. Once again, I'm kind of rushing the story here just to kind of get the point. So got my D7000, had my Sigma 28-70, but I said, you know what? I want the 24-70. Well, so I went to the Sigma 24-70, had the Sigma 70-200, and the Nikon 50 and 35 1.8. Then I started to realize I wasn't really into prime, so I sold them off, and eventually I got the Nikon 28 or the Nikon 17-55 2.8, one of the best DX lenses out there. Now you might be asking, you're talking fast and everything, but why did you choose Nikon? Why didn't you go with a Canon? Well, I went into Best Buy, and at the time, I think it was a T2i or T3 maybe, I don't really remember, and the Nikon just felt better in my hand, so that's where that comes from. So that's how it goes. So now I'm with the D7000, I'm doing a couple weddings, and I'm like, this low light is terrible, it's just ass. You know, sorry to be quite blunt there, but it's not working well, and sometimes I couldn't use the flash like I wanted, especially in the church because the priest didn't allow that at the time, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, I just need something to perform better in low light. So at the end of 2012 and beginning of 2013, I did a couple big jobs in regards to video freelancing after I graduated college. And that's when I just said, you know what, I'm forking out the money, and I just went full frame. So I just did a lot of work on the side, and I saved up, and I got my Nikon D700, which I still have today. That's sitting in my bag right over there. So I'm still rocking the Nikon D7000. That's my video camera right now, and my backup until that moves up to probably a Nikon D610 or 600. And I have my D700. So it's really just saving up here and there. And overall, if I would have done it again, I would have just saved the money at the time and gotten the right equipment that I needed once. So I have this, the Nikon 24-70 to 70-200 are my two main go-to lenses. And then eventually overall, I wanted macro for my wedding photography, for the ring shots and details. And so I went with the 62.8 Nikon. So overall, yeah, I kind of rambled everything, but that was the progression. I started with something very easy, very entry level, the Nikon D3000. There wasn't much to it. It was just kind of plug and learn. And I made a parallel leap. I didn't really do much, and I was in the wrong mindset. But then eventually I got into something more prosumer, the D7000, got what I needed out of that, and then I said, hey, I really need to go full frame. So got the D700, and it does what it does. It's my low light, it's my baby, and that's what pays some of my bills. So that's how I went. Now, one of the huge things, so hopefully you can kind of relate to that and see, is you can basically sell your gear at times in intervals. You could package them together so you can get more value. So that way you can get better glass, which is more important overall. And that's one thing I want to address with that. It is about the lenses. So go lenses first and then go full frame afterwards. And then after that, when it comes down to limitations, that's when you should upgrade. If you make a pro and con list and your cons outweigh the hell out of your pros, then you should probably upgrade a little bit after. So don't worry about getting the best gear out of the back. You don't need it. Go with what you can, but once again, I made the mistake when I first started out, and I'm talking to someone who's just new or beginner or an amateur thinking, oh, I don't know if I should upgrade. I made the mistake of going out, getting my D3000, and then 2 months later, because the newest and greatest came out, I said, oh, I must need this because it's better. Yeah, no, that's not the case. I started to do some sports stuff, then I got more into weddings and assisting, and that's how I, was able to build up some of my financial situation to go full frame. And I'm sure you could do the same as well, even if it's assisting a professor, a friend, or someone in the industry to get your foot in the door in regards to anything, maybe studio, all that kind of stuff. And you could do it. Trust me, if I could do it, if I can work hard and do it, and yeah, maybe I do have a little bit on my credit card in regards to my 70-200 lens, which still is not paid off. Yeah, no, but yeah, so you could do it, I could do it. Sorry if this was a long video, but I felt it's kind of a cool thing to show you where I came from to kind of where I'm at now, and hopefully I could help you out in some way. So you could do it as well. put your mind to it and just save a little bit here and there when you're like, ooh, should I get this lens? But the little one's a little more. You know what? Save up at that moment. It'll pay off in the long run. Eric Rossi, the guy with the app.